What is the real outline difference whether you have hundreds of students or just a few? Let me try to take you through what
I
we
think
mean
our
by
words are limited, but actions speak volumes, and our work is there for everyone to see. I would prefer not to speak too much about myself or the school and let the actions and the work of the school speak for itself. I think the last proper academic session that we had was 1.5 years back.
Okay.
So that year we ended with 385 students. Calculating the number of students who have not left and the students which have come to us for new admissions, we have done a little better. A very conservative and a very, let's say, realistic estimate that we are a small school. That means we have not even reached 500 students, 400 to 450, something like that. The exact number of students will be known only when things are normal, when we are able to have a normal classes and normal sessions. And regarding staff, we are currently employing 22 teaching staff and 2 non-teaching staff. So total of 24 employees. Well, I think we are all in the same boat. It's not that it has affected us any worse or any less worse. I think there are only different degrees of being affected. Academically, we are in the same position as everybody else worldwide. So when you say that how has this affected us, it's a very dark place. There's no limit to the number of negative possibilities, but let's look at the positives. Firstly, we have a very supportive staff, students who are willing and eager to learn. So this is one of the positives, and that's why even throughout the pandemic, when it started, and the whole of last year and into the second wave this year, somehow we have not looked down. We have always been positive, and we are trying out new ways and means to keep this teaching learning process relevant. Of last year, we did online and offline classes. We have a dedicated website working 24 hours. Anyone can access it. So the learning has never stopped. So yes, in a sense, the physical classes have not been there. But ever since we put up the website and the YouTube channel, we are online 24/7. I don't agree that we are a backward place. Kangpopi is a district headquarter now. It has been for the last several years. It's quite well connected. Facilities are good, maybe at par with some of the smaller towns. It takes two hands to clap. So from the school side, we are taking all efforts to make sure that education does not stop. It has to continue. And on the other side, this is where the family, the community, this is their time in which they need to step up. So once again, I don't agree that Kangpopi is a backward place. It is a district headquarter, one of the main hubs of this area, and is quite well connected. And we are just making use of the facilities. And I would not say that it has been only my own doing. It has been an overall team effort of all the staff who are working tirelessly to make sure that children don't miss out or don't have any misgivings or any hard feelings about being at home or locked down during this pandemic. Zoom, we did it last year from March or end of March right up to August, September. And one thing that I realized is that having an online or let's say the live session or a live video conference is unfair to those students who cannot join at that time. And online live sessions or video live interactions with students is not really healthy in many ways. Firstly, there's a lot of screen time involved. I don't think we can wind up a Zoom conference or a Google Meet conference in about 10 or 15 minutes. It will take much, much longer than that. And what we are doing right now is that we have been recording small short videos and uploading them on YouTube. Now, let me explain why YouTube. It's not about likes or subscribers or comments. It's nothing about that at all. In none of the videos, we have asked anyone to like or subscribe or comment or let's say promote our videos. The only reason is convenience. They have a very good indexing and cataloging system. So where we can upload a video, put it in a particular playlist, and put categories so a student or anyone, even a parent rather, can access it, can control it. The reason why we put it there is that it's offline, so you have the option of watching it at a convenient time. For example, there may be just one smartphone in the house, and there may be 4 or 5 children across different classes. So the parents here need to schedule, give a maximum of 30 minutes. 30 minutes means you can watch the video twice or thrice and then pass it on to the next child. The important thing is here is that the child is not sitting in front of the mobile or the laptop or computer, let's say, for a long time. They watch what is needed for them. We have only one lesson per class per day, Monday to Saturday, and then a small assignment at the end. So the parents, students have the full control over it. It's there all the time, 24/7. And the website just makes it easier. Once again, the indexing and cataloging becomes easier. So you just have to register or log in using any social media account, and there the system records you. This is necessary so that there's no misuse and there's no unnecessary issues related to trolls or whatever. So on one side, YouTube provides the wonderful convenience where we can upload videos very fast and maintain the same quality. And the website, what it does is this particular web service that we're using, this is called Wix, Wix. It is also linked to an app. You can open it on any browser and it adjusts itself so that it fits your mobile screen. We realize that not many people will be using a laptop or a desktop or a computer. Most of them would be on a smartphone. So the website is designed to compile all that together and also give an option or share any information, any feedback with the school. This is something that I told the students last year, is that I think education, somehow the hunger for it, the thirst for knowledge has diminished in the last 1.5 years. That's very unfortunate. But let no one fault us, especially this school that I'm proud to be a part of, that we did not do our duty. So we are putting all our heart and soul into it. And even if, let us say, the majority of it choose not to watch it or choose not to respond to it, but the fact remains that during this crisis, which is once in a lifetime, once in a generation, so 10, 20, 30 years down the line, this is something proudly that we can tell our children, grandchildren, that during this pandemic, this is what we did, this is what we stood for. It's not so much about finances or money, it's about values which we started establish the school. And during this time of trial, this is where I'm happy that as a team and as an institution, we were able to stand up and meet the challenges. So the response, as I told you, the statistics speaks for itself. And once I think restrictions are removed, we will see results. Right now, there's no way. And as I said, we are not in this for likes or comments or subscribes. And we are just doing it so that it's an easy, accessible platform. This is specifically done for our students, where they can access the teaching and where somehow they will be able to respond. And with the assignment system that we have, they will have to respond. Okay, I cannot comment on the internal workings of each family, but if we didn't do this, what would be the condition of our society? Let us reflect on that. And this is something which I hope every right-thinking person in the community acknowledges, is that schools are the only place where you have instruction, teaching, a system, a discipline. And unfortunately, this gap where has been too long. And as I've been telling students throughout, over and over the years, is that the books or the academic part of it is just a small part of it. It's the discipline, the routine, the goals, the ambition, the drive, the positive thinking, the mannerism, the behavior. And these are all that we cannot really measure in a report card. But with the lockdown on schools, to be specific, this is already having a very negative impact on the society. It's very obvious. So let's say this generation is in grave danger, let me say, is that they have missed out on, let's say, the best years of their lives, where they have formed their careers and their destinies. But this is what it is. And I hope every sensible person realizes that what the online thing does is that it gives the parents an opportunity where they control the content and they control the study time, the motivation. So in a sense, this is where parents, especially families, communities generally need to cooperate with the school in particular and with the whole concept of education in general. Because as I said, there's no other way in which a young child, or let's say a child who's not yet matured, can be groomed into full maturity. So there's a lot of immaturity out there, and there's a lot of irresponsibility. After all, children are children, teenagers are teenagers, need to be groomed, guided in the right direction. And we can't wait for the system to be normal as it was, let's say, in the past. When we say in the past, we're going to refer to it pre-pandemic now. But the biggest thing that bothered me about all this was that even if we didn't do all this, what would be the condition of our children? I do believe there are children who are watching this message, who are watching the message of the teachers every day. And there's always a message that's beyond the books and let's say the blackboard and the formulas and all that. The message is that we are there for you, we care for you, and you please carry on with your studies. Because after all, we are teachers. Our duty as teachers is to teach. We are doing our duty. And as students, it's their duty to learn. And as parents and guardians, it's their duty at home to make sure that this phase of student life carries on as far as possible. Let me answer that question with a question. In the last 19 years, since when have we been commercial? Since when have we been business like? Since when have we made a profit? And why should we start now in the middle of a pandemic when no one has money?
True.
So I know that's a little bit of a rhetorical answer, but the fact is that Lighthouse has never been about money. Even pre-pandemic, we never stopped any student or any student's examination or attendance or any penalty or any thing for financial gain. What the system designed by my father, who was the main architect behind the school, is that number one, poor children should be educated. And number two, young people who are in need of a job, they find something to do in between preparing for exams. And in a way, it's a very practical model where the society, in a sense, looks after itself. So those who can pay, and those who can't are already free. And the young and bright people, the talent that is in the community itself, they come and serve the community and they get a little bit of money. At the same time, they are in touch with the books, with the syllabus. And I think even among the previous teachers, many have gone ahead to a very good service or career. So how have we managed? I think this is a question that should be asked to every teacher. It's been a very difficult time, especially the last 1.5 year. Now the system is like this. How it has been continuing over the years is that the monthly fees, all of it goes to the teacher's salary. Now the profit per se, as you may like to call it, that comes with admission. The target of admission fees is to put it in infrastructure. That means maybe building a toilet or a classroom or buying some extra computers, this and that. But over the years, what happens is that the money that comes from admission, when there's no money coming in from tuition fees, that gets used and used and used, and somehow it gets recovered at the end of the year or sometime next year or sometime even late into next year. So this is a very unfortunate situation, not only for our school, but I think in this area generally. And as I said, we really can't fault the children for that. But the unfortunate thing is that people take it the wrong way, is that we are taking online classes only for collecting fees, or we're doing this and that only for money. No, that's not at all the case, because as I said, last 19 years, we have not been about money or business. So why should we start right now when everyone is having a hard time? But I hope the public or the community as a whole realizes that education is a service. It is a service by the community to itself. Who are the teachers? They are the community. Who are the students? They are the community. And in the long run, who is going to benefit from it? When students graduate, they have life skills, coping skills, they are well trained. Eventually, they will come back and serve the community. So, in a sense, a service that we provide, I think we should not take a very narrow outlook in this. All we are saying right now is watch the video, one lesson per class per day, complete the assignment, and submit it when you are able to submit or when the permission is given officially. Right now, I said, don't come to school, just stay at home. When things are open, parents will start coming and giving the assignments. That's all we say. We're not saying for every assignment we are going to charge this much of that, right? But we have said we are going to give marks for that. Now, there are two reasons for that. Firstly, and we better start having a system in place where at towards the end of the year we can evaluate the students somehow objectively. That's why I've been telling teachers, don't just give ready-made answers for children to copy down. Let them think themselves. Let them creatively explore answers, and on that basis, 10 marks is not a very big mark, but at least that sense of value that a student has, that I have done something. That's what the child looks forward to at the end of the day, week, month, is to have some feedback, positive feedback. So that's what we're offering here. So that's one. And secondly, having a system in place, because we cannot predict how long this thing will continue. Somehow that keeps the system relevant. Coming back to the question once again. So this was the whole idea, is that we are there to provide a service, and if dues are there or if monthly fees are not paid, that means somewhere or some teachers or all teachers don't get paid. Admission is not done, that means the school infrastructure stays the same.
So, do you think normalcy is anywhere in the horizon or anytime soon?
Well, this morning I got up, the weather looked fine. I think it looks normal. Normalcy, I think it's really up to each and every one of us. There's a simple way, and I will not make a political or let's say a medical statement over here. Small things like this matter. And that's why every teacher, every student should get used to this, because this is the only defense right now that I see. How that normalcy comes about, I do not know when it will happen, but definitely I look forward to it. Well, I don't like politics so much. It's not really my cup of tea or coffee, but I think the appeals are very much there, even if I don't make it personally. And I just want to say that I hope there is a plan so that the last 18 to let's say 20 months now of the negative impact, emotionally, psychologically, socially, and last but not the least, financially, not just for the schools, maybe the parents, the teachers, the whole system. How is that going to be addressed? It's not just, let's say, the school, it's a whole ecosystem. You have auto drivers, you have van drivers, you have the small people running canteens, you have the stationery, the book sellers, you have the uniform sellers, people who are dependent on this whole subsystem, even the people printing out iCards. So I hope the value of the contribution of schools, especially the private schools, is somehow understood, and especially in the local context, I hope it is not misunderstood as it was done last year. There was an unnecessary issue regarding I think 30, 50, 70% with schools. And I've always believed that the relationship between a particular school and let's say XYZ community, that is none of anybody's business. When schools reopen, and it's not a question of if but when, it may be 1 month, 2 months, it may be even a year from now, let it be, no hurry about it, because eventually it's not just about you and me. It's not about money. Money will come and go. Let's say governments will come and go, officers will come and go. But the families, the society, the institutions, the teachers, the teaching, the books, the knowledge, that will always be there. And I'm sure many other schools would be also doing perhaps even better work than us and reaching out to children during this time. I hope their efforts are appreciated.
If you have any words for your students.
Yeah, so many words. The only thing that I will say is that this too shall pass. Yes, it may seem that it's the end of the world, but it's actually not. And believe it or not, there have been darker and worse days in the past. And we are, as I said, count your blessings. We're lucky we have each other. we're able to
Mhm.
communicate. Maybe you will watch this and get an idea of what I'm trying to say. We always need to look forward to something. If you look back, you'll only get a neck pain. As I say, a pain in the neck. I hope you are not being a pain in the neck to your family or to the people left and right of you. Always look forward. We are doing our duty, and you also better start doing your duty. Your duty is that you are a student and you have to put in that effort now. And perhaps this is where you might miss out if you neglect your studies today. Studying is a habit, after all. It's just like brushing your teeth or making your bed. Just fall into that routine. Yes, it has been disrupted. That is why, as far as possible, right from March, April, we are continuing with this online class so that you maintain that routine, maintain that good studying habit. I am pleasantly surprised by how people have responded at all levels. As I said, it takes two hands to clap. That's entirely, absolutely 100% true. What I have done as, let's say, an administrator or a secretary is just I have put a system. Actually, the people behind are really the people like Sir Jangam, Hao Min Loon, who are, let's say, working around the clock, preparing the videos, recording the videos, and every teacher is preparing a lesson with their full heart and soul, and that's very clear, that's very obvious in the videos. So that's the greatest experience, is that somehow it has been encouraging just to work with such a dedicated teacher, and we look forward to the positive response from parents and students. Okay, thank you, whoever you are, mystery caller. Maybe someday we'll find out who you were.
Okay then. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye. Have fun. Okay.